watched my mom get in an ambulance when I was little. I had a nervous breakdown. I'll never forget that. I realized that even in my previous relationships, I wasn't. Those relationships helped build me to who I am. I mean, they're part of me.
Right.
They'll never go away. Mm-hmm. They're part of my story.
Right.
And I appreciate that. But I don't. Some of the things that either I did or they did, was all based upon immaturity. Lack of commitment or lack of training. But to build a relationship, you do have to have trust is one of them general terms, but you just got to have an affection for the institution of it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's difficult for me now when I hear people say I'm going to have this big wedding. And I'm saying, why? Why are we having such a big wedding?
If we don't understand the institution of what it is.
Because it hurt. It made me want to work harder for my family. Mm-hmm. What I didn't have in my younger years, I was willing to and I don't like to use the word business, but to keep the business, not the busyness of the relationship. So how do you feel about being married?
I feel great about being married.
How often?
How often do I feel right? Regardless of what happens between us throughout the day, at the end of the day, when I lay my head down at night, I still would rather be married. I've shared before, yes, it is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Because with most things, they do come to an end. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing anything, there comes a point in it where that's over. There comes a point in your house, growing up as a kid, that you're not in your parents' home anymore. From the child perspective and from the parent perspective. So there comes a point where, that no longer. If you go to college, it comes a point.
Would you like any refills or anything?
No.
Thank you. But I think it comes to, a point where you're done. Mm-hmm. Whether that's I'm not going to school anymore, you finish school. In the military, you you complete your time in service, or you retire. It comes a point where it comes to an end. But in marriage, that's not necessarily the case. Well, do they come to an end? Absolutely. But you have to really work it, and it's constantly evolving. But it's not just you. In any of those other things that we're doing, it's us making a decision. I'm in school, I'm majoring in this, and this is what I know I have to do, and I'm responsible for me. Mm-hmm. But when you're in a marriage relationship, it ain't just all on you. It's going to also have to deal with the other person in the relationship, and then how well y'all communicate. And sometimes it's easier for me to cut off that end and focus on me and walk away from it. Whether, or not necessarily walk away from it, but even just be contrary in it. Than it is just to, okay, what do I need to do? Because it's you got to submit and humble yourself in a relationship. And I think that's a difficult, that can be the difficult part, that I can know I'm right. But is it that you need to be right, or do you need to be committed to this relationship? Because I feel like sometimes when you allow things to resolve or come back to it when you in a better state of mind, it stands to have a better outcome to it. That I can think of many conversations or times that we had that I knew it was going to take 3 days before you actually came around and said, not necessarily I see it from your point, but we're able to actually talk about it. Because in that moment you were like, no. And whether that was your defense or whether that was your processing, you know what I'm saying?